Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you tuning in. We got an interesting one to talk about today, Men from 2022, and I'm doing an early morning recording. So, yeah, I might not even be awake while I'm trying to talk about this movie, but we're going to give it a shot. This movie, this is actually a first time watch for me. I had tried to watch it once before because I had heard a lot about this movie, and this is one of those that I don't feel like I've ever really heard a lot of people that are like have middle ground. I've heard people that think this movie is beautiful. They love it. They love the vibe, for lack of a better term, and are big fans. I've heard other people that find this movie incredibly boring and have told me how horrible it is. But I've never heard too many people that are just like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, everybody's one extreme or the other, it feels like with this one. Um, I had tried to watch it once before and really was struggling to get into it in the beginning. And so I ended up turning it off and doing something else, but I wanted to get back to it at some point. And so here we go today to talk about Men from 22. Um, yeah, 2022. Tagline for the film: What haunts you will find you. Brief synopsis for the film: In the aftermath of a personal tragedy, Harper retreats alone to the beautiful English countryside, hoping to find a place to heal. But someone or something from the surrounding woods appears to be stalking her, and what began as simmering dread becomes a fully formed nightmare inhabited by her darkest memories and fears. Film was released May 20th of 2022, directed and written by Alex Garland, a runtime of 100 minutes. I could not find the budget for this film. Box office of 11.2 million. Briefly, we'll just mention a couple of members of the cast here real quick. Jesse Buckley, Rory, I believe is how you say it, Kinnear, Papa Esquidu, Gail Rankin, Sarah Twomey. Let me just stop there. We'll talk for a moment about cast, characters, cinematography, all that kind of thing. Um, Cast. I'm not real familiar with any of this cast, but I feel like that everybody did a decent job. You know, for the performances they were given and what they were trying to portray, I feel like people did a good job of it. So I don't really have any problem with the cast. I don't have a lot to say either because it's not like I think anybody was out here just absolutely amazing, but I think everyone did what they needed to do. So the cast is fine. The characters, man, I tell you what, and I said this recently, I have been caught up in this whirlwind, it feels like lately, of watching movies where I don't like characters. I don't know what has happened, but that is the case again with this one. I just don't find myself invested in any of these characters. I know our primary character, Harper, has been through a lot. I think we're supposed to feel a lot of sympathy for her. We're supposed to feel, a lot of fear with her through everything she goes through in this film, and it's there somewhat. But at the same time, I just don't find I don't find any of the characters in this film, and there's not a lot, um, but are really likable people. I hate to say that, knowing when you look at everything she's gone through, you'd be like, well, why would you not like her? She just, I don't know. She just doesn't have a. I realize she's been through a lot, so she's not supposed to be this bright, fun type person. But at the same time, all you get is kind of like a negativity, and it makes it difficult to really invest in someone. And then the other characters in this movie are just not great either. Yeah, it's there's. I hate to keep saying it, but I'm just not really invested in any of the characters in this film, and that does hurt me somewhat when I'm watching a movie. If I can't get into anybody, it makes it hard, and I find myself that way in this one again. The cinematography, though, I think the movie is shot very well. I think the movie, look, we get some great scenic shots in the film. I think the way things are done and shot is pretty good. Editing is a little awkward at times, I feel like, but overall, I feel like the cinematography is pretty good. We get some good shots. Um, Special effects are odd but good, for the most part. Um, Score, not a fan. One of the weirdest scores that I've ever heard. To start with, I was like, okay, this might be kind of whimsical and fit where it needs to, but it just got annoying. I felt like as it went on, and the story is just so incredibly awkward, and I don't think I fully understand it still after finally watching this movie. So, yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I struggle with this one a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I've got. And normally I try to give some production notes here. I read through a couple of things. I could not find any production notes that I thought were interesting or worth talking about. So we're just going to skip that section this time. I'll put my glasses back on so I can read my notes, especially this early in the morning, and we'll go ahead and walk through this one. So we open this film up with Harper traveling to a small village after what appears to be the suicide of her husband. She's wanting to just spend some time alone. She goes to this nice countryside house where she meets Jeffrey, the owner, um, and he kind of shows her around a little bit. Jeffrey's a really weird guy. To start with, it seems like his character may be okay. He's very different, very eccentric, but I mean, he seems okay, and that's the opening of the film. We do, I think, get a little bit here of a flashback of Harper and her husband briefly, but not a lot to really give us the whole story yet. Um, yeah, the opening of this film is just there. I mean, there's nothing I don't think that's great about it. Again, we get some cool countryside shots, but we get a brief introduction to a couple of characters that seem okay, and um, yeah, we're just jumping in and getting started. And I don't feel like there's really anything about this opening that stands out to me as being amazing. It's not horrible either, but it's just kind of there, very middle of the road as far as I'm concerned on this opening. Um, excuse me. Harper gets a video call from her friend Riley. While they're talking, her signal cuts out a little bit. There's a very weird face appears on her screen for a moment, and then we get a flashback of we find out that Harper was planning on divorcing her husband, um, and in her doing so, he was threatening suicide. They argue about that for a little bit. We then see Harper go for this walk in the woods. Here again, we get some good, countryside shots. She comes across this railroad tunnel where it's a very long tunnel, and she seems to be appreciating the echo. She keeps talking and making noises, and it echoes. This scene goes on for way too long, in my opinion. It might would have been fine if it would have just been a brief couple of moments of it, but it just kind of keeps going on, and I'm like, let's get to something. I'm starting to remember why I was struggling to get into this movie the first time I watched it, but finally, there at the end of the tunnel, Harper sees a figure, and yeah, I can't tell. There's some noises that I can't tell if it's this person screaming at her or if it's a bird, to be completely honest with you. But there's some odd noises. Harper kind of gets freaked out, and as she starts to run away, the figure begins to run towards her. Um, she runs away. She finds some old empty houses, and then she gets into a field where again the scenery around her is very pretty. So she starts to take some pictures of everything with her phone, and then she sees a naked man standing off in the distance, just watching her. And again, then we get another flashback of Harper's husband falling and being partially impaled on a fence. And we're kind of led to believe here again that he jumped, that she had threatened divorce, he threatened suicide, and then jumped and killed himself. Um, Again, this scene here is another one that I just feel like it's just kind of there. Or this part that we just went through, there's some eeriness there when of course this person is chasing her through or running at her through this tunnel. We don't know why or what's going on, so it's a little creepy. Um, it's definitely a creepy thing when you see some naked person standing off in the distance just staring at you. So there's there's some creepy aspects here that's going on, but at the same time, we're getting some flashbacks here and there. We're kind of trying to lead up to what maybe happened between Harper and her husband. I just don't feel like there's enough happening here that's really engaging me, though. It does seem like, I have not always been a huge fan of a lot of A24 movies because I've said this multiple times on my channel and on other channels that I've guested on. I'm not a fan of slow burns, and this movie's definitely got that slow burn feel going on here. There's just not a lot happening. It almost seems like there is, but there's really not. Um, I mean, the thing that I'm enjoying the most about this movie at this point in it is just some of the countryside shots we get. Like I said, we get a lot of pretty scenery and cinematography, and good shots. But other than that, still kind of struggling, not fully understanding what's going on. Um, trying to get it, but just struggling with it a little bit. The next day, we see Harper back at her home. She's playing piano, and again we get some good shots of scenery while she's playing the piano. She gets another phone call that seems like maybe it's work related. While she's on the phone, we now see this naked man outside her home. Then she's back on a video call with her friend Riley again. We get some more shots of this man leering, walking around the home while she's inside, giving Riley a tour with her phone. Um, She then sees the naked man. He's outside picking, looks like apples off of an apple tree. His face seems to be covered in all these bloody scratches. Um, Harper realizes her door is open. She goes over and slams it and locks it. And the man tries to put his hand through the mail slot. And then we get another flashback of Harper and her husband arguing at a point where he takes her phone away from her and they're arguing and he ends up hitting her. We then cut back to present time where she's called the police and the police have arrived and arrested this naked man. Um, and again here I'm like, okay, there's a naked man apparently stalking her, and it's the threat, and that's not cool. It's definitely creepy, but I'm still trying to understand the purpose of this movie right now because she's gone through these things with her husband. Obviously, she was in a somewhat abusive relationship. Um, Again, she wanted a divorce. He may have killed himself. Appears to have killed himself. And then we've got her in this country home being stalked by a naked man. Things are starting to play out now a little bit, but it's still just not pulling me in. I just didn't find this. I'm probably maybe almost halfway through at this point of the movie, but I'm just not finding it entertaining. And I can see where the side of people that I've talked to that find this movie boring, I'm seeing it. It is, again, that slow burn. There's a lot happening, but not a lot happening. And it's just not pulling me in. I'm not invested in the characters. Story is okay, I guess, but I'm just kind of struggling with something more needs to happen. Like something's got to get going here for me in this one, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. From there, Harper visits a church, and we get another flashback of her actually kicking her husband out. And then in the church, she meets this young boy who looks a lot like Jeffrey, the guy that owns the house that she's living in. It's kind of odd the way they shot this scene to make this young boy look like Jeffrey, but they do. And he's wants to play hide and seek, and she doesn't want to. He calls her a bitch. It's kind of a weird scene. We then meet a priest who also looks a lot like Jeffrey. She begins to sit down and talk with the priest and tell the priest about her husband, and that when she kicked him out of their apartment, that he managed to push his way back in an upstairs flat, but then fell to his death. And she doesn't know if he actually fell or if he jumped and committed suicide. After talking with the priest a little bit, the priest then begins to blame her for not giving her husband an opportunity to apologize, because if she would have, then maybe he would still be alive, which this pisses her off, understandably, 100% that it pisses her off. So she leaves the church, and again, she sees the naked man, who we thought had been arrested, or I take that back. She doesn't see the naked man. We see the naked man watching her, and he's starting to pick at these scratches on his face, and it looks like he's also like putting almost like a 4-leaf clover at one point, but I think he's just putting like leaves and grass and shit in these scratches on his face. Harper takes off to a pub where she does run into Jeffrey. He is there. They talk for just a few minutes. We see a bartender and a few other men in the bar that all, again, resemble Jeffrey. So we've got this theme going here now with this. A policeman arrives who also looks like Jeffrey, but he ends up informing Harper that they let the naked man go, that they didn't have anything to really hold him on. And so, here, again, we get more flashbacks. We've got now a little bit better of an understanding of what happened between Harper and her husband. I'm sure that there is some deep reasoning why, and other people have probably talked about it, as to why all these men look like Jeffrey. It doesn't make any sense to me. Again, I could try to get into some deep conversation about it, and men being the same and that kind of thing. I mean, I feel like this is a hard movie for me to talk about, because I don't want it to look like that I'm not understanding the point, but at the same time I'm not understanding the point. So I mean, I get it overall. I know how big a jerk Ben can be. I really do. I fully understand. My fellow man disappoints me sometimes, but at the same time I'm like, why do they all look like this guy? I mean, if we're trying to do something here, shouldn't they all look like her husband a little bit? Shouldn't they resemble him instead of just this guy that she just met? Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with this concept a little bit and what they're trying to do. Trying to get through it, but having a little bit of a hard time. And the naked man thing now, while it is still creepy, now that he's putting grass and stuff and the scratches on his head, is just getting more and more weird. I'm still finding, I mean, things have picked up here a little bit, but I'm still finding the movie at this point just very odd, very slow, and continuing to struggle to get through it. Yeah, I know this is not an exciting episode, but that's how I was feeling watching the movie. Um, Harper leaves the pub, and as she's walking home, we see the naked man again watching her. She gets home, she calls Riley. Um, she's talking about just after everything that she's been through, and the priest and the little boy and the naked man, and the cops not, holding on to the guy, that she just wants to leave. But Riley agrees to come out and stay with her. It's about a 3 or 4 hour drive, so Riley's going to come see her. She tries to tell Riley the address of where she's staying, but the phone keeps cutting out. She tries to text it to her, and she keeps losing signal on her phone. She gets a message from someone that like says, I already know where you are, you stupid bitch. Um, Lights then begin flashing in her house, and here the movie just goes batshit crazy because there's a lot that happens in the next few minutes, but it's just all so chaotic and ridiculous, in my opinion. As the lights are flashing, she sees the policeman outside her house. She goes outside to try to talk to him, but then at one point, when the lights flash, he vanishes. Um, Apples start falling from a tree for no apparent reason. And then one of the men that she saw in the bar that looked like Jeffrey appears kind of out of nowhere and starts to chase her. So she runs back inside her house and gets in her kitchen and gets a knife. We hear a window break. We see a window break. And then Jeffrey ends up arriving and coming in. And she's telling him what's going on. He goes into the kitchen and finds that it looks like it was a crow that hit the window and broke the window. The crow's injured now, and so Jeffrey just kind of nonchalantly breaks the crow's neck to put it out of its misery, I guess. And then Jeffrey goes outside to look around, and Harper kind of goes out and is watching him a little bit. But then again, the lights flash, and now suddenly the naked man appears. And the naked man is now got a lot of, it almost looks like he's turning into a plant. And I know there's a statue, I don't remember, called the Green Man, that looks like a man that's put together just from a lot of foliage, like that kind of thing. And that's what this naked man is starting to look like. I'm sure there's something to that. But Harper gets back inside. The naked man tries to put his hand through the mail slot again, but this time she stabs him in the arm with a knife. And as he pulls his arm back through, it basically slits his arm from middle of the forearm down through his hand. And it looks a little bit like when her husband fell or jumped off of this roof and gets partially impaled. His arm goes over like a fence, and that seems to happen to his arm a little bit, so it looks similar. Um, Gross. I mean, it looks fine, but even that is nothing just spectacular in my opinion here. The little boy then that she met at the church appears in her house, but he has the same kind of injury. His arm is slit now, like what the naked man's was. He also's got the dead crow that he's playing around with. He starts to chase her, and she gets into another room. Um, but then this guy that was outside, that was from the bar, he also ends up breaking in the house then, and she again has to escape. Now the priest tends to appear. He comes in the room that she's in. He has the same injury. He has the slit arm. Um, and he goes to attack her and possibly even try to rape her, I'm guessing is what was about to happen, but she ends up stabbing him in the stomach and gets outside. As she gets outside, she gets in a car to take off, but she ends up hitting Jeffrey with her car. He gets up and then pulls her out of the car and takes off in it for a minute. And we get these weird sky shots. This score that keeps playing throughout all of this that I've just kind of glossed over after mentioning the beginning is ridiculous. Um, I think it's supposed to maybe be, like I said, whimsical and beautiful, but to me, it's just annoying. But Jeffrey ends up coming back in the car and tries to run over her and ends up crashing into a statue instead. And then again, we see the naked man approach her. But now he's almost completely looks like a plant for the most part, especially his head. He has a broken ankle. And as he's approaching her, then he suddenly stops, and in a pretty gross, but at the same time, so weird scene, the naked man like gives birth to this young boy that was messing with her earlier. And then the young boy starts to come after her for a moment, but then he stops and gives birth to the priest. The same thing. The priest ends up giving birth to Jeffrey, and then Jeffrey ends up giving birth to James, Harper's husband. Such a weird set of scenes that I think are just, I don't know, they just are so weird and make no sense to me. This movie is just so crazy and chaotic that it's just, I'm completely out now. just trying to finish it. She sits down on the couch then with her husband James and is asking him, what it is that he's wanting. What does he want from her? And he says he just wants her love. We then cut to Riley, who is arriving. Somehow she figured out where this place was. We see when Riley gets out of the car and is walking up that she is pregnant. She finds this blood trail, I guess, from all this chaos that's happened. And she sees Harper sitting there on some steps. Harper looks up at her and smiles, and that's the end of the film. And that's Men from 2022. Yeah, such an odd movie. I get that Harper was really traumatized by everything that she went through with her husband, what he put her through, and then his death. And so I'm assuming that this is just all a lot of psychological trauma that she's dealing with. But again, this movie's so weird. It's very slow. In my opinion, it's very boring. There's not enough happening. When things do start happening, they're so chaotic and don't make a lot of sense to me. And maybe I'm just missing the point. I mean, that could be the case. Maybe I've just missed the point of this movie. And if that's the case, I'm really sorry. But I tried, and I just found it long. It seemed so much longer than the runtime that it really had. I found it very boring. I found it very weird. There's just not much coming out of this other than some good scenery that I've found entertaining. And so for me, Men for 22 on my scale of 1 to 10, this is just not a good movie. I've had several lately that I've given incredibly low scores to, and unfortunately, this is going to fall into that category again. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10 for me on Men. It's not good. It has a couple of things here and there. Like I said, there's some good scenery, some good special effects, but I don't know what it was trying for. This is not a good movie in my opinion at all. So that's my thoughts on Men, 2 out of 10. And I'm so tempted to change. In fact, I am going to change that. I'm going to say 1. This is a 1 out of 10. This is not a good movie at all, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. And again, I probably completely missed it, so I apologize for that. But I want to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think of this film. Did you enjoy it? What is it that I'm missing that I'm not getting about this movie? Or did you not get it either? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this movie. Hit the like button for me today. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I've been very busy here on the channel here lately, and it's going to continue. Tomorrow night, I'm a guest on the Dread broadcast. First time I've been on there. I'm looking forward to being on that live tomorrow night. I also have episodes coming out later this week on The Grudge and on Insidious. Those are going to be fun. So yeah, subscribe so you don't miss anything. Again, hit that like button for me today. Hit the hype button. Follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on everything out there. Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. I'm on all of it. So follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And then come see me tomorrow night on the Dread broadcast live. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.